hello also by me. So on the first part of the presentation, Zach presented us OpenClaw, but on this part, we'll see some alternatives because I was too scared to install OpenClaw on my computer. I'm Marcelo. It doesn't work. Great.
It works. It's just blank.
Yeah. It's not on my computer. Yeah, it's just a little bit laggy. So a quick recap. OpenClaw is a very large code base. It has around 400,000 lines of code, a lot of config files, and a lot of dependencies. It supports multiple LLM providers, like you can use Codex, you can use Anthropic models like Claude or Sonnet. And the app-level security is with allow lists, with permission checks, and etc. But what else is out there? So the two alternatives that at least I investigated are NanoClaw, which is a lightweight self-hosted personal agent built on Claude, and we will explain later what is built on Claude. And Claude CoWork, which is the GUI application from Anthropic that it tries to be a desktop assistant on our computers. Let's start with NanoClaw. So what is NanoClaw? It's a self-hosted open source personal Claude agent, and it's a Claude agent because it's built on top of Claude agent SDK. So it supports all the things that Claude can do. We don't see something there. One. Just too laggy. Yeah, how it works. Okay, so it's built on top of the Claude agent SDK. All the capabilities of Claude are also supported from NanoClaw. The license is MIT, so we can do basically whatever we want. We can even sell it if we want, and we pay for the Anthropic API usage. But how small is this tool? It doesn't want to work. Yeah. But how small is this tool? It's just 3,000 lines of TypeScript. So it has 7 core modules, and compared to OpenClaw, it's very, very small. The creator of this library, of this agent, says that you can audit the whole code in just 8 minutes. Weird thing is, if I jump 2 slides forward and 1 slide backward, it works. So what messenger interfaces does NanoClaw support? It supports the WhatsApp from the installation agent. So when we install it, the first option is WhatsApp, but it also supports Telegram, Discord, Slack, and Signal through skills. So we are basically extending the code of NanoClaw instead of having the code for the rest of the messengers there. Great. So let's say a little bit about the message flow. So we have the chat interface. We have an SQLite where all the message history and task scheduling is saved. We have a polling loop, which it's a loop that it tries to execute all the recurring tasks that we have. And all of the rest of the invocations are done as ephemeral containers. Okay, so we have 3 concurrent loops. This is the one, the first is the message loop. So every 2 seconds, it checks for new messages on the message channels. We have the IPC loop that pulls for other agents that have invoked every 1 second. And we have the scheduler that fires cron jobs, internals, or one-time jobs if we ask it. Okay. Security. So we don't trust AI agents. And why is that? Because agents can misbehave. So NanoClaw tries to solve that a little bit with ephemeral containers. So you can run it inside on Docker, or you can run it inside Apple containers on macOS, or either Docker also in macOS. And all the agent users run as unprivileged users. Now it's even slower. Okay. And as we know in Docker, we can mount specific files and specific folders there. So by default, all the sensitive paths are blocked, like the SSH keys, the AWS credentials, and the host file system is read-only. So NanoClaw cannot do any changes to our host file system. And comparing to OpenClaw, OpenClaw basically can do everything. As Zach said before, he just spoke with the messenger interface, and he had all the different extensions done by that. And how we can extend NanoClaw? Basically, the philosophy is skills over features. So the maintainer does not want any other code inside. He just wants skill files, so markdown files. And it works basically as all the skill files work in other agents. We give instructions and all of the tools that are needed in order to have the functionality that we want. For example, the Discord integration was done by a markdown file. And NanoClaw knew how to build the code and what we need to do in order to achieve that. So this is a daemon running 24/7, and also this is the benefit. Otherwise, we could just open ChatGPT and ask it. So we want something to run all the time, even when we are sleeping, and no window is needed to be open. So if you install it on a server, it can run basically also at night. Personally, I just installed it on my computer. So when I close my computer, I have to restart it, which is inconvenient, but it is what it is. I didn't want to experiment more on that. Okay, and what are the capabilities? Are like similar to OpenClaw. So we have the agent browser, we can browse the internet. We have the stealth fetch, which tries to bypass bot detection, not with such success always, because I had some issues. We will talk about that later. We can analyze media, like if we send a photo on NanoClaw and tell it where's this place in the world, he could analyze the photo and find it. And we also have scheduled tasks like cron jobs, intervals, or one-time tasks that we want to do, like remind me on Saturday to call my mom. And what are the limitations? So it's Claude only. We cannot have multiple providers. Even I tried it, and I tried a lot. I mean, I tried to put codecs inside, but because the capabilities are not the same with Claude, so you only had chat capabilities there, and it was like really shitty. And how can we authenticate? So when you are installing the agent, it gives you two possibilities to authenticate with the OAuth, so with your subscription. But this is against the Anthropic's terms of usage. So if they find out, they can ban your account. But if police is not watching, nothing is illegal. And you can use also API keys, like you pay what you use, which is very expensive. We don't have monitoring dashboard like OpenClaw has, and the changes are done directly through code. So even if you don't want the agent to do your changes, you can write code by your hands and extend it. And the configuration is limited to skills, and the core contributor does not want any code, but as we said, you can fork it and you can do whatever you like. So this is a demo time, but as Zach left the demo for the end, I will also leave it for the end. And let's talk about Claude CoWork. So Claude CoWork is Claude Code, but for the rest of the world. So basically for not coders. It's the agentic desktop assistant from Anthropic. So it's the desktop application, not a CLI application like Claude Code. And it targets basically everyone that is not a developer and he wants an agent to automate his work. And where does it live? It lives on the Claude desktop application, and it has a third tab there. It was launched in January, and it is a research preview, so it's not production ready yet. And it has macOS and Windows distributions, no Linux, no mobile. That one can do, it can read and write our local file system, it can spawn sub-agents to do different works, it can schedule tasks, and it can create and manipulate very well all the Excel, docs, and PowerPoint files that all the big corps are using. It also has a lot of enterprise connectors like Google Drive, Gmail, Slack, and probably Jira, and a lot of others. And all of them are connected via MCP, which is a broad used protocol for communication with agents. The security. So Claude CoWork runs inside of a Ubuntu virtual machine in our computer, and it uses the Apple virtualization framework. It uses, as we can see, a lot of RAM and a lot of gigabytes of virtual disk just to manipulate an Excel file. And all the agents are executed inside the guest machine, not in our local machine. And the security defense in depth. So we have, as we said, VM isolation. We have a second line that Claude wrote that I have no idea what it is. And we have a different file system than our file system. So it's more restricted. And the network is also restricted to some specific domains. And extensibility. We can have plugins, which are the plugins that Claude Code also supports. So they are files like skills or other instructions how to do things. We can have commands, which are user triggered, like the schedule command, which schedules a recurring task. And we can have connectors, which are basically MCP servers, and we can spawn different sub-agents to distribute our workload. Interesting. So some limitations. Claude Desktop must stay open. It's a desktop application, so it has to be running in order to do all these scheduled tasks. Another one is that the scheduled tasks fail if the lock screen is on. So there is a workaround on this. So you can configure Claude CoWork to not let your computer lock. So it's very inconvenient, but we will see this option later. It does not have session memory. It cannot share session. It cannot share memory between sessions. So it only knows the current session and what you're talking to it. And unfortunately, it has no sharing or collaboration features. In difference with other tools, if you invite more people in the group chat, they can all speak to OpenClaw or to NanoClaw, and they can all do tasks. And the cost gap, yeah, it's a tool that uses a lot of tokens, and with a small plan, the $20 plan, probably you won't do much, but with a max plan, which is more expensive and you have bigger limits, you can do a lot of things. And unfortunately, no Microsoft 365 integration. It's something that we were looking on my job at least. And it's still on research preview and not production ready. So a lot of things will come in the near future. And this demo will go also later. And let's go head to head. Let's compare the three tools that we saw today. So what we have NanoClaw, we have Claude CoWork, and we have OpenClaw. So as for runtime, NanoClaw and OpenClaw are single Node.js process, but Claude CoWork is a desktop application that runs inside of a Linux virtual machine. As an isolation, NanoClaw runs ephemeral containers. CoWork is a full virtual machine, and OpenClaw, it runs directly on your computer, and it has access to everything. And the security is like allow lists, as we said before. The interface of NanoClaw is Messenger first, same as OpenClaw, but OpenClaw has a lot of more connectors, but the CoWork is limited only to the desktop application. As availability, both NanoClaw and OpenClaw are 24/7 if you install them, of course, in a Linux server or somewhere that it's running 24/7. But Claude CoWork, you have the application, so it must stay open. As per memory, NanoClaw and OpenClaw have persistent memory between sessions, but CoWork only knows what you are talking with on this session. And cost, yeah, NanoClaw, as we said, it's the API usage. And unfortunately, to be legal or to be following the terms of services, you have to use API key, so it's much more expensive. And with OpenClaw, you have the good thing that you can use codecs with a subscription, and the limits are bigger. And with CoWork, of course, you use the subscription, but the token consumption is very big. And what do they share? So this is a comparison between the two tools that I investigated. So NanoClaw and Claude CoWork, they both are built on top of Claude Agent SDK. They both use MCPs, of course, to communicate with other tools. So whatever tool has an MCP, you can connect to it. They both support scheduled tasks. They both have container isolation instead of app-level security that OpenClaw is using. And both are Claude only, unfortunately. And when to use what? So yeah, this is a big question. Everybody has their own workflow, and speaking with more people at least, they always think of another use case. I would say that NanoClaw, if you have a really small server, like 1 GB of RAM, you can set it up pretty fast and you wouldn't care. Claude CoWork is for our product owners, maybe. And OpenClaw is for the rest and the brave that want to experiment with basically everything. And my key takeaways are personal agents are changing very fast, and maybe in 3 months we have other tools and more impressive tools. The security model, yeah, but who has security this time? Yorgo, I see you're laughing there. And no single tool is doing everything. So basically, we could use a combination of tools or pick the most appropriate tool. Here's the Q&A, but I think we should do the demos first. Want to start? Or should I?
Sure.
Okay.
Do you want to take questions first?
Sorry?
Don't you want to take questions?
Do you want questions now or later? Because we will have demos and maybe you have more questions later. But I don't care. Go.
Let's say, have you seen how you get your configuration out if you want to migrate to something else? Okay, the empty files are there,
Yeah,
but I'm not sure if it's only empty files or it's code, it's messaging, files.
so I can tell you for NanoClaw,
Yeah.
I haven't tried it, but it's a Git repository, so you can fork it. You can do whatever you want. The SQL files are there, so if you're not afraid to commit them, you can commit it. You can clone it to another place, server, or whatever, and you can run it again.
Yeah, but I think in OpenClaw with such a huge.
Yeah, probably in OpenClaw.
Actually, yeah, the OpenClaw lives in a directory in your file system. So you can take, I believe you could take the directory and just move to another PC and it would just work. But how would do it? I would ask OpenClaw to do it for me.
Yeah, but since you ask OpenClaw things, it might install the packages, libraries, etc. There is system-wide tools, but you need them
Yeah.
in order to run things in
Yeah, good point. Then you would probably need to tell the new instance to install whatever.
Yeah, so the case with these tools, and at least with Claude code that I'm using more frequently, if a tool is missing, it asks you, can I install it? So even if they're missing on the new system that you're going to install OpenClaw, he probably will find out that these tools are missing, so it will ask you, or if you are so brave, it won't ask you, and it will install whatever he wants.